pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This evening, there is no president's report. I am filling in actually for President Remus. So I will now pass it on to our beloved Cherokee Cheetahs.
Thank you. Good evening, Board of Education, to our community members. Thank you for having us as a school spotlight tonight. I have many of my Cherokee Cheetahs joining me. One of our goals, both in the district strategic plan and our school improvement plan, is to foster a genuine sense of belonging. And one of the ways that we are doing that is to really nurture supportive relationships, building that positive school culture, and creating a safe and welcoming learning environment. We know belonging matters. We know it has an impact on student engagement, on achievement, and on behavior. So tonight, some of my Cherokee Cheetahs have joined me to share some changes this year to our school-wide teaching of expectations that began at the beginning of the year and our school-wide acknowledgement system. Our school foundations team began this work in the summer and will continue it this year, and we have updated some of these systems based on feedback from some really important stakeholders, our students, our parents, and from our staff. So we wanted to focus on the importance of that consistent and meaningful recognition through our acknowledgement system, because we know that recognizing the positive behaviors that our students are demonstrating helps promote that positive environment and reinforces those behaviors. We also know that teaching behavioral expectations explicitly and then acknowledging that is so important. So I'm going to start out. Our first and second graders, they have created a video that will be on the next slide. So I want to introduce my first graders. If you want to raise your hand, I have Theo, Juliet, and Parker from first grade. So they helped create this video, and they'll talk a little bit about our teaching at the beginning of the year. And then my second graders, we have Hattie and Eleanor. So thank you to all of you. You put in some hard work into creating this video. So if you want to go to the next slide.
In the first week of school, we did a scavenger hunt around the school to review Champ's expectations.
It was a fun way to remember how to be safe, respectful, and responsible in your common areas. At the end of the scavenger hunt, every class received a mini Champ the Cheetah to keep in their classroom. In kindergarten, the mini cheetah goes with people in the hallway. He reminds them to be safe and respectful. Mini Champ also helps them learn. Help shows the patterns on the numbers on their cards. In first grade, the mini cheetah watches our class. On Friday, he whispers a student's name to the teacher.
The student takes him home to have fun. They write down what they did with the cheetah. On Monday, the first grader brings back the cheetah. They tell their class about their adventures.
Nice job, you guys. Okay, third and fourth graders, you want to come on up? You can go to the next slide. They're going to share a little bit about some of the changes to our school-wide acknowledgement system.
One new thing I really like at Cherokee this year are the Cheetah Paw stickers. Teachers hand them out when they see a student being safe, responsible, and respectful. We can spend the stickers on anything we want at our school store, Champazon.
Shopping at Champazon is better than having a raffle because everyone gets to shop each month. The kind of prize you can buy depends on the number of stickers you save up. It makes school feel exciting.
I also like the cheetah mail we get from teachers this year. Teachers can write down something great they noticed we did, and then we could bring it home and hang it up. It makes me feel happy to look back at what I did and remember how hard I was working. It makes me feel really happy to get cheetah mail. It reminds me that I'm a good person. A teacher gave me one for being an active participant, and another teacher gave me a cheetah mail for helping out in the classroom.
It feels like we're getting more positive feedback with the new cheetah stickers, which feels really good. Even though students at Cherokee do a great job following expectations, it feels good to be noticed by our teachers when we do. It's kind of like getting a compliment. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to share about the great things that are happening at Cherokee.
I just have to say their enthusiasm has been really fun to see every month when they're shopping at Champazon, and many of them are saving for bigger things, so pretty impressed with that too. So nice job, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You guys did an amazing job. Would you like to come up and do a picture with the board? Gosh, this is always my favorite part of our meeting, but turning it over to you, Matt.
It is hard to follow students, and they did a wonderful job. So thanks to Dr. Kavanaugh for making that possible. Tonight's superintendent's report will cover a quick touch on the executive board with the APT, learning walks, state report card release, and then the Grateful Market. If we begin with the APT executive board, we had a discussion with the executive APT board on October 10th that Dr. Sturpin, Jenny Sturpin, organized, which featured staff members from 67 and was facilitated by Dr. Fitzsimmons, as well as District 67 parent Ryan Weidman. And the panel was hosted by the board, and we took a deep dive into student behavior and response systems around student behavior. And the reason behind this topic was because of the community interest of student behavior and how we are supporting our students in 67. This slide was included in the presentation, and I think it's important when you think about how we are all supporting young people, whether they are in our homes or in the classroom. We often only see a very small portion of everything that makes up them as individuals. And this slide from Dr. Sturpin was important because there are things that students present one thing to us, but maybe are internally experiencing very different experiences for them as an individual. So we have to support the whole iceberg is the moral of this story, some of which is a little harder to really wrap your head around when you think about anxiety, stress, shame, that maybe our students are experiencing that could manifest in a whole bunch of different ways in the classroom. There were questions about how we level out student behavior in 67, and there have been questions, are there levels, is there a rubric, is there a matrix? Sam went through, or Mr. Paulson went through, different leveled behaviors and our expectations and our responses, and you can see from level 1, which is a mild behavior, all the way to level 3, which is more severe. Examples of each one of those that were discussed with the APT, as well as how we are offering corrections and examples of consequences, acknowledging that there are consequences from mild to severe behaviors that are exhibited by students, but it is not a one-size-fits-all, and it is truly unique to the individual situation within the context of the student who is displaying the behavior. We also shared that every staff member, every student, every teacher has received training on foundations and CHAMPS, and I think that was a surprise to some of our APT members, so I just want to highlight it today. Foundations, for the board's benefit, is a comprehensive approach to behavior management that guides school staff in designing a proactive and positive school. And then CHAMPS is a classroom management approach. CHAMPS stands for, some of you have heard this before, some of it may be new, conversation, help, activity, movement, participation, and success. CHAMPS helps teachers create a positive and productive learning environment while maintaining appropriate classroom boundaries. So we shared some of those principles with the APT, and then shared also the training that goes around with those two programs that are used in all the buildings. We focused on the fact that this is a partnership, and that's what the beauty of the APT is, having conversations together, acknowledging that our impact is great during the time in which the students have with us, but also how can we support our parents and our guardians when they're outside of the classroom, when they're at home, or when they're out in the community. So we looked at how to make sure that we are offering the support, such as Dr. Sturpin is organizing a behavior workshop for parents, guardians, and staff, that we have a clinical psychologist coming in February as a part of our author study. Dr. Doug Bolton will be with us. And then, he will be with the staff in February. The book talk will happen in April. His new book is coming out called Untethered, and I'm excited to have him with us to have that discussion. In the same vein, we are working hard, as evidence of the APT meeting, to bring community in to see what's happening in the classrooms, to have discussion with community. And on October 15th, we had our first learning walk at DPM, and that was a 2-hour experience where we invited members of the Superintendent Advisory Council, Board of Education, Executive APT for, I guess, the APT within Deer Path, as well as Spirit members on their board, to come in and tour, see classrooms, and then have a panel discussion with teachers afterwards about what they're experiencing within DPM and the initiatives they're working on. It was a wonderful morning. We had great feedback. The board heard some of that personalized feedback at the Education Committee earlier today with a person who was able to join us on those walks. It should come to no surprise that I've talked about the report card release, which is happening tomorrow. The data is embargoed until tomorrow morning. You should expect communication coming from both districts, 67 and 115, tomorrow morning about how the district and the buildings performed. Remember that the 2024 report card is based off of spring data from last school year. I will finish with celebrations around the Grateful Market, which every year is a way for our community to come together and support other communities. And by the numbers, we had approximately 800 community members served, 2 tons of fresh produce and dry goods were donated. And then you had 64 event day volunteers and 436 volunteers that prepared or did work in advance for this event. A huge thank you to our sponsors. Every year, we couldn't do this without our sponsors, and I just want to put a highlight on Quest Food, who are tremendous partners with us day in and day out in both districts. That concludes my superintendent's report. I would be more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? I will now move to our first opportunity for public participation. The board will now hear public comment subject to Board Policy 2:230. The Lake Forest Boards of Education welcome public attendance and participation at all meetings. It is hoped that by utilizing these guidelines, participation will be maximized, both in terms of fairness and organization. At this point in the evening's agenda, this opportunity for public comment will be limited to comments about this meeting agenda item only. Please hold all their comments until the following opportunity for public comment later during tonight's meeting. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the board? Seeing none, we will move on to reports and discussions, and that is back to me with the policy report. I don't know if any of my fellow board members had any questions or comments on the policy report, but basically the nature of this is for the press release 116. This was something that was discussed during August. It was postponed in the September meeting till now to ensure that all the stakeholders had an opportunity to review the changes. They are minor, and this really is related to updates to the grievance procedures that are in response to final regulations implementing Title IX. So again, the policy committee is just recommending approving the first reading of Press 116, and that is an a consent agenda item for this evening. Any questions from anyone? Okay. Moving on to liaison reports. Is there anything for True North, Greg?
True North held a board meeting this past month, which I attended. There were just a couple of items that are cooking over there. One is True North is looking on evaluating a way to recruit or admit new members to the cooperative. That's a process that is ongoing. And a second topic for discussion at the most recent meeting, something Dr. Venson may have mentioned in his, I think he did mention at the District 115 meeting, there was a student with a firearm on campus. He was, I think that True North handled it fairly well. The situation was resolved, but in light of that, the district is evaluating, of course, its own procedures internally to make sure, evaluate what happened and whether they responded correctly. In my judgment, they did a very good job because it was handled quite well with no injuries and no issues. But that was at North Shore Academy, which is a high school over there at True North. So that.
Thank you. Any questions for Greg? Moving on to the legislatively. I don't know, Carl, if you're doing that for Mark? No, Mark is not in attendance this evening, so I guess we can just skip that. Spirit of 67 Foundation. Megan is also not in attendance. I don't know if, Monica, you had anything? Okay. Last but not least, the APT Executive Board meeting. Do you have anything?
I don't have an official report. Matt talked about the last meeting where it was more of a panel discussion about the behavior issues, and it was a lively discussion, but informative.
Well, thank you. Well, cruising right along. We are on our first and only action item this evening, the approval of a resolution authorizing intervention and proceedings before the State of Illinois Property Tax Appeal Board. May I have a motion to approve a resolution authorizing intervention in proceedings before the State of Illinois Property Tax Appeal Board?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Could you please describe this in any level of detail that's understandable?
I would be happy to. So this is basically a request by the Chicago Bears to have a decreased valuation of their property that resides within Lake Forest. It does result in 67 would lose about $100,000 in property tax. The high school would also lose approximately $100,000 in property tax. We lose that in the short term, and then in the following year, when we can do the recapture onto the tax levy, it will redistribute that $100,000 among all the remaining taxpayers. So it's really a shift from one taxpayer, in this case being the Chicago Bears, to all the other taxpayers in the area.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? May I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Adamo,
Abstain.
Ms. Yan,
I'll abstain as well.
Okay, so point of order, I think if you two abstain,
Yeah, we need 4.
the vote doesn't count, like you don't count into the quorum. So it literally is, it's the majority of 3 then.
Could you maybe explain, Jen, how, like, where did this come from?
Chicago Bears filed a property tax appeal, just like a homeowner would, saying that their property should be valued less than it's currently being valued. And then it goes through various levels, and at this point, it would be to the appeal board. So we can intervene on that particular request, which is what this resolution would do, would allow our attorneys from Frantic to do so. Between us and the high school, we make up, approximately 50% of the entire tax bill, so we are the largest combined taxes on that.
And 115 had the same resolution earlier in the month, and they approved it unanimously. Very rarely will we challenge any tax appeal, but one of this size is certainly of interest not only to the districts, but in our viewpoint, the whole community. The city is not joining us, but they are monitoring what's happening because they are also impacted by this by another proportion of 25% or more.
So the only point of bringing up the quorum is that if you abstain, I think the quorum number actually shifts. That's how I understand it.
Yes.
And just for information, you vote however you like or abstain as you like, but that's.
Mrs. Shohan,
Yes.
Mr. Karar,
Aye.
does this carry? I don't know. Oh, sorry, Mrs. Bernal.
Aye.
Okay.
Moving on to the consent agenda. Any item may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of a board member. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items, including, okay, to items 1 through 8? Have a motion, please?
So moved.
A second.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Yan,
Yes.
Mr. Karar,
Aye.
Mrs. Shohan,
Yes.
Mr. Adamo,
Yes.
Mrs. Bernal.
Aye. Moving on, we have received some FOIA requests. Robert Dowdson, 1 of 2 completed. L. Lawlett, 3 of 3 completed. LFCB, 1 of 2 completed. Alexandria Saucedo, 1 of 1 completed. Gaffney and Gaffney Law, 1 of 1 completed. Jonah Meadows, 1 of 1 completed. George Ward Jr., 1 of 1 completed. Owen Wang, 3 of 3 completed. And RBJ, 1 of 1 completed. At this point, the board will now hear a second opportunity for public comments, subject to board policy 2:230. This opportunity for public comment will be limited to 60 minutes. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the board? Seeing none. We are now on to our announcements. Tuesday, November 5th, 2024, there is no school. That is Election Day. Tuesday, November 19th is our next Board of Education meeting here in West Campus at 7 p.m. And now may I have a motion to adjourn the City of Lake Forest School District 67 Board meeting for October 29th, 2024.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? May I have a voice vote, please? All in favor, say aye.
Yes.
Sorry.